All right. Hi. 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 All right. Hello and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about burnout. And this is something that I think is really important for us to talk about because I feel like it is such a common experience that so many of us are walking around in our culture, in our world today, feeling like we are not able to keep our heads above water, right? Feeling like we are doing our best to keep up with all of the things that are required of us in adult life these days. And we're feeling overwhelmed and overstimulated, and a lot of us go through cycles of feeling like we are capable and we got it and we're doing it and we're kind of like getting things done. We're working, we're keeping on top of all the things. We're trying to keep on top of our health. We're trying to keep on top of our relationships. We're trying to keep on top of all of the things that have to go on. And more than that, we are feeling like we got to set goals and we got to go harder, we got to do more, we got to improve ourselves, we got to make progress, we got to change, we have to do all of these things. And we're kind of like on that side of the spectrum where we're really pushing ourselves, we're doing our best, we're trying to move forward in life. And then we swing the other way of feeling just like life gets out of control, life gets super overwhelming. We get to a place where we can't hold it all together anymore, and it feels like everything falls apart, or it feels like just keeping up with the bare minimum of the day to day life feels impossible. And we get into these states where we feel what is commonly referred to as burnout, or like, right, like things just went beyond our capacity, and then it feels like we aren't able to keep up with like really anything. And then it can really feel like we're taking these like one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, two steps back, and like we're just not making progress in life. And then the wellness industry comes in, and the spirituality and the self-help and the personal growth worlds come in, and they tell you that, you know, you should be moving forward at all times. You should be leveling up in our society. You should be doing more, creating more, getting on top of things more. And so not only is it not okay that you have areas in your life where you're like not doing it, right? You're not even keeping up with it. It's not okay to even have areas like that in your life, but you should be moving ahead in all of these different areas of your life. And like I say, and then self-help, personal growth, spirituality says, and if you're not, well, feel bad about yourself, right? Because you're failing on some level, you're clearly doing something wrong, you're clearly not doing what you should be doing. And here are all the things that you can buy and all the things that you can do and all the courses you can take and all the endless lists of self-help, spirituality, personal growth, self-improvement stuff that you can do to make it so that you will be better and that you will get on top of it and you will get ahead and move forward with your goals. And then you try it and you do your best and you can hold on to it for a while and it's really exciting, and then you get burnt out, and then the cycle continues. And then a lot of us can even get into a state where it feels like we're not moving forward in life at all. Like we're just like kind of constantly in this state now of overwhelm and burnout, and I can't figure it out because it feels like there are so many things we should be doing, so many areas of life where we need to be moving ahead, moving forward, fixing things, and it can feel like the chaos in our lives is so big that we don't even know where to start. We don't even know what thing to tackle or to even look at. And then we just get into a mode of overwhelm and then shut down, and then it can just feel like we're totally stuck. And I wanted to speak to this today because I feel like, number one, we need to move past the shame of this. that there is just so much shame that is given and that is assumed to be how we should feel when we look at our lives and we're not constantly improving. We're not constantly climbing the ladder. We're not constantly comparing ourselves to people who are getting fitter and getting stronger and making more money and having better and better relationships and then having kids and then getting the bigger house and getting a promotion. And everyone, it seems like we can go on social media and we can go even look at our friends and family and all the people around us, and we can really believe, and it can really look like everyone in life is moving forward in every way possible and we're the only people who aren't. And again, it just can make us feel like we're shutting down and we don't know what to do. Okay, so the biggest thing that I first want to say with this is this: what you see on social media and what you see with a lot of what even your friends and your family show to you, if you're not super close with them and having like real one-on-one heart-to-heart connections, is usually not real to reality. What we are seeing on social media in terms of people's relationships, their bodies, their lives, what's actually going on behind the scenes, that makes us feel like we're failing and we're not doing good enough because we're not moving ahead in all these areas of our lives where it feels like everyone else is. I can guarantee you, most of the people that you're looking at, most of the accounts you're following, most of the people that you're following are not making the progress in their lives that they are claiming to be making. Okay? I just want to put that out there for all of us to be able to just take a step back and know that, like, okay, right? Like, I have coaching clients, I work with a lot of people, I am in a position where I get to know what's going on behind the scenes of people's lives a lot. And what I want to say to you is, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling like you're not making progress in your life, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling like everything is way too much and that keeping your head above water is way too much, and that this is a you problem and that you're failing because it's you and everyone else is doing better than you, this is not true. Okay? This is just not true. It's not the reality. Most people that I know and that I talk to and that I get to know on a one-on-one basis will tell me, or would tell you, that the actual experience they're having behind the scenes is one where there is a lot of struggle, where there is a constant feeling of failure, where there is a feeling of literally no matter what they accomplish, it never feels like enough. It never feels good enough. It never feels like they're doing it. And a lot of people have multiple boxes of their lives where they are not keeping their heads above water. Right? So we have a lot of people who are really good at showing that one area of their life where they seem to be nailing it. Right? Their career or their relationship or their body, which is usually what we see on social media, right? People flaunting their wealth, people flaunting their bodies, or people flaunting their relationships. And they can make it look and they can make it seem like their whole life is this. That they're like killing it in this one area, and that that's what their life is. But when you actually get to look behind the scenes, you will see that they're maybe not even killing it the way that they appear to be killing it in that one area where they say they're doing really well. And then everywhere else, there is chaos. This is literally what I see over and over and over and over and over again. That there are people out there who are either just really good at having that one part of their life they can keep on top of, and they present that to the world. And they make it look like everything is okay and like everything is all firing in all cylinders, when in fact they're kind of putting all of their energy into this one area of their life and making it look like the whole life is that, when really it's just that one area they're having pretty good success. Okay, so I really want you to take a step back and realize that what you see on social media and what you usually see people present to you as being their life is generally not the full picture. Okay? So if you're looking at people and they're making you feel bad about yourself, it's not to say that you have to be like, well, everyone's lying. But I would just approach it with some skepticism. I would approach it with some, okay, this is what they're showing. This is the highlight reel. This is what people do. And even if they show the kind of like highlight reel, but I'm also struggling in these kind of like seemingly insignificant ways, but here's how I figured it out, right? Like even that can be not real. And a lot of people also really love to share their insights and their revelations of how they learned to take a step back and how they're resetting and how they're figuring it out and getting ahead of things. And I was struggling before, but I'm better now. They share that kind of stuff before they've actually even really made progress, before they've figured out if that thing that they're saying to do that helped them get out of their slump or that helped them fix their problem is even working. Right? They just thought of it now. They just thought of it 5 minutes ago. They just thought of it a week ago. They're back on track now. But really, they're talking to you from the same crazy 8 cycle, to coin Tony Robbins' term, that you're in. Where you feel like you're flying high, and then you fall off, and then you're flying high, and then you fall off, and then you're flying high, and then you fall off. Because you haven't actually, or they haven't actually, figured out a sustainable way of life for themselves. They just went through a slump, and then they found some self-help, spirituality, personal growth thing that they're now implementing, and they're doing it, and it feels like it's helping, and it feels like it's working, and it feels like it's making things different, when in reality, they haven't given it time, they haven't given it space. And so they don't even know if it's going to work. It just feels better right now because they feel productive again. And this is the main thing that I want us to take away from this video. Okay? If you take nothing from this, I want you to understand that the lifestyle that our culture tells us we are supposed to have, where we are constantly moving ahead in our careers, we are constantly moving ahead in our bodies, we're up-leveling our spirituality and our personal growth, and we're on top of our mindsets, and we're managing our neurodiversities and doing all of these things, where our relationships are just getting better and better and better. We're making more and more money. We're having kids. We're upgrading the house. Life is constantly upgrading in all of the areas of life. It's completely unreasonable. This is part of the manufactured discontent that leaves so many of us in a state of constantly being burnt out. Because what we are being told is a reasonable lifestyle is not. What we are being told is a reasonable level of personal growth and expansion is not. The expectation that so many have of ourselves due to what culture says is an acceptable life is totally unreasonable, especially within the conditions that we live in. You are not failing. We live in a system that is fully set up to profit off of the manufactured discontent of the middle class, that profits off of there being a lower class that is exploited, because we are all trained to see a lower class as being unworthy of being paid a living wage, of having health benefits, of having any kind of social safety net. We are trained not to see any of the social determinants of health or wealth or sustainability as being factors in our lives. And we are trained to see this system of literally there is not anything you can do to actually be good enough as normal and acceptable and a you problem, not a society problem. This is the big thing I want us all to take from this video. We are constantly being shown people who seem to be successfully managing the system as the pinnacles of success and what we should all measure ourselves up against and what we should all try and be. And then when we fail, when we feel burnt out, when we get overwhelmed, we are taught to blame ourselves. We are taught to feel like we are not enough. We are taught to feel like we are failing. And then we get even more overwhelmed. And then half of us shut down and then can't keep our heads above water and become the people, right, that our culture exploits. Or we jump back on the self-help, personal growth, spirituality, wellness train, the girl boss train, the boy boss train, the whatever. We buy more stuff, we invest in more things, we do more labor to try to move ourselves ahead, to try to heal, to try to transcend so that we can be better. We do that for a little while, we get burnt out over and over again. And this does not benefit us. This does not serve us. This cycle does not lead to a place where we get to have a life that actually feels good. This cycle leads to perpetual burnout, perpetual overwhelm, and perpetually feeling like we're not enough, or literally not having enough. And that's how it's designed to work. Okay? Because if we were to get to a place where we said, okay, I'm good, I have enough, I have achieved enough, I'm going to maintain this, corporations don't grow. Bottom lines don't get higher. Profit margins don't continue to increase every quarter. There's less exploitation because there's less demand. There's less people being distracted by constant navel gazing and self-improvement, or just trying to keep their heads above water. And then all of a sudden there are more people to pay attention to what's actually happening and why things are happening and how this is affecting everything. And then there are people who are all of a sudden against the way the system works. And then the system would crumble. It is a manipulation tactic to have you believe that you need to be constantly leveling up in every area of your life at all times, and that you're an absolute failure if you cannot. And especially the big key, the next big key, is that you should be doing this all by yourself. Okay? So this idea that you need to be constantly leveling up in every area of your life, that there's no salary that's high enough, there's no job position that's good enough, there's no level of physical health that's enough, there's no relationship status that's good enough, there's no spirituality or mental health space where they say, okay, you're good, you don't need to buy any more things, you don't need to do any more things, you can just be here. That doesn't exist. Right? Most of us, when we look at the goals that we have for ourselves, we can say, I think I will be good when I'm there. But so many of us have experienced over and over and over again that we either never get to the goal because the goal is vague and the goal is based on really an unawareness of what we really want and what we really want to feel and why we think that goal is going to help us. And so we're never really getting there because what we're wanting is a feeling that we're attaching to some external thing that's vague because we're not really understanding ourselves. Or we get to the goal and the goal never feels like enough. The goal just turns into the next goal. Because again, it doesn't matter what we achieve. It doesn't matter how much we get there. We get there and then we don't feel how we thought we were going to feel. We don't feel what we thought we were going to get. We don't get what we thought we were going to get. And so we assume we need more, we need to keep going, we failed, this wasn't good enough. Or we do get to a place of good enough, like I said, and culture just says, okay, now what? Next thing. On to the next thing. You can't sit here. You can't stay here. This isn't enough. This isn't good. More. Next thing. Next goal. And then again, the cultural narrative is that we should all be going more, doing more, getting more on our own. Without social safety nets, without community, without actual help or support. But, in that husband, wife, 2.5 kids situation, which is the right situation by our culture's standards still. That you need to be achieving all of these things and killing your life within the context of this perfect, quote unquote, perfect situation of couple with kids. This is impossible. This is an impossible, unwinnable game. And this is why we all feel so burnt out. Because the game that we are being taught to train, or that we are being trained to play, is a game that you cannot win. So let's peel this back and let's talk about it from a broader perspective. At the end of the day, when most of us look at why we are doing what we're doing, why we want to achieve the things we want to achieve, why we want to be leveling up all the time, why we want to be moving forward all the time, what we think we're going to get if we get there, wherever there is, with our relationships and our health and our work and our bodies and all of these things, is either number one, to get out of suffering. Right? Many of us are in a place where we genuinely do not have enough, or we genuinely are struggling and suffering in a way that's real. We have health issues. We aren't making enough money. We don't have security in our relationships. We don't have stability. We're in pain. And we're doing our best to try to get out of that pain. And in those situations, the first and most important thing that I always recommend any one of my clients, anyone in the mystery school, anyone who does this work, is to notice where you have shame, blame, and guilt about that. Where you are making it completely your fault that you are failing, that you are not okay, that you don't feel safe, that you don't feel secure. And I want to remind you that in the grand scheme of things, number one, most of us grew up in households where our caregivers didn't teach us the skills that we needed to live a functional adult life. Our school didn't teach us. Our authority figures didn't teach us. Many of us were not supported financially, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. We weren't taught how to pay taxes. We weren't taught how to budget. We weren't taught how to manage our food and our nutrition. We weren't taught how to communicate healthfully with one another. Like, I really want you to think about your childhood. I want you to think about your upbringing. And I want to know, were you given the skills to have a fully fledged, functional adult life? And you're just choosing not to? Or did you grow up in a situation that was also highly unhealthy or imbalanced, where your parents were struggling, where the people around you were struggling, where, right, maybe you grew up and you realized, oh my gosh, everyone was in debt and everyone had addictions and everyone was cheating on everyone, and it was like this whole big mess that I didn't even know was happening. Like, all the adults in my life also had totally messed up lives. And then we look at ourselves and we think, but I'm failing because I don't have a perfect adult life. When in real reality, no one taught us how to have an adult life. So that's the first thing. Were you actually supported in that? Second thing, did you have secure connection that allowed you to have the mental, emotional, spiritual capacity to step into an adult life and feel empowered? Did you have secure community that made you feel like you weren't just getting kicked out of the nest and now you just have to figure it out by yourself? Most of us didn't have that. Most of us, it was just figure it out. You're 18 now, or whatever, younger for some of us. Or you just graduated university, or you just graduated high school. You do it. There was no secure connection. There was no community. This is completely out of alignment with how we evolved. For most of our human history, Life was not like this. And we really need to take this into account. For most of our human history, we lived in small, collective communities where we had elders and parents and people around us who cared about us and who taught us how to live by example. So that by the time we became adults, we had practiced the skills that were needed for being an adult. Because we had witnessed the people around us doing that. And we lived in constant communion with other people. It's only been in the last couple of 100 years that this whole individualism, nuclear family is your only connection, if that, situation has been a situation. This is not how we evolved to survive and thrive as human beings. And that is not to say that it's hopeless and so we can't and just give up and just accept that life is going to be crap forever. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we need to shift our expectations of ourselves. We need to get out of this shame, blame, and guilt that says I should be able to just be a fully functioning, flying on all cylinders adult when we weren't taught, we weren't given the skills, and in fact, most of us were taught incorrectly. We were taught to sweep things under the rug. We were taught how not to look at our problems. We were taught literally nothing about managing finances, or we watched our caregivers struggle with that. We were not given a secure connection and not taught how to regulate our emotions. And we were taught how to be volatile and explode or make ourselves small and be people pleasers and all of this stuff. And so we come into adulthood with these patterns that are unhealthy, and we blame ourselves instead of being able to say, well, that's what I was taught, or that's how I had to adapt to the unsafe environment that I grew up in, where my caregivers couldn't provide for me, or they did blame and shame me for how I actually was, or they weren't there for me emotionally, and therefore I learned how to be a people pleaser, and now I don't know how to have healthy relationships. They didn't teach me how to cook for myself. They didn't teach me how to manage my budget. They didn't teach me how to work a 9-to-5 job or whatever it was. They didn't help me figure out the skills that I have and that the talents that I have and how to fit that into the marketplace. It was all up to me to figure that out. They taught me bad habits. And I don't have a secure community that makes me feel like if things go wrong or if life gets hard, I have people to rely on. That's what we need. That was what was normal for almost all of our evolution. So if you're not flying on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders in your life, and you're blaming and shaming yourself for the ways that you're coping and numbing and the ways that you have bad habits, I want you to look at, are you in pain? Because there are areas of your life where you're struggling. Your relationships, your work, your finances, your body, and you don't have answers. You don't know how to make it better. And so you're coping. You're doing your best. And it's because no one ever taught you. no one ever helped you, and you're out here all alone trying to figure it out. That's the first step. We have to get out of shame, blame, and guilt so that we can realize where we're just struggling. We're actually struggling. We really don't have enough. We actually don't feel good. And no one gave us the skills to figure it out. No one gave us the skills for how to do this. We're trying to figure out how to be an adult all by ourselves, and we have this big mess in our lives that we don't know how to clean up because no one ever taught us how to, and we have to do it by ourselves. That is not how we evolved. Okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing is to realize that, again, even if you do have enough, even if we objectively take a step back and say, you're making enough money to support yourself, you're okay. Even if you never moved up in your career, you never got another raise, you could live on this and be safe and be okay. Your health is good enough. You're not dying, you don't have any necessarily illnesses, you're managing pretty good, you're fit enough, you're healthy enough, right? Maybe you're not ripped and the leanest you've ever been or the strongest you've ever been or your favorite body, but you have a maintainable body. Your relationships are sustainable. They're healthy enough. They're safe enough. They're good enough. They're not perfect. They're not the most divine union that could ever be. You're not transcending and having, the most extreme experiences. But you're good. You have enough. You are okay. You're not allowed to feel like that's good enough. You're not allowed to feel like you can stay here. You're not allowed to feel like a good enough life is good enough. Right? Because now you need to do better. You always need to be doing better. There's always something more you could be doing. Start that side business. Get a raise. Improve your skills. Get fitter. Get leaner. Set a goal. Challenge yourself. Move up in your relationship in some way. Make it better. Make it tantric. Make it orgasmic. There's always more you could be doing, you could be having, you could be experiencing. And culture will tell you that if you stop somewhere, that's not good enough. And most of us have never been trained how to find actual fulfillment in life. We're constantly looking outside of ourselves. We're constantly feeling like we're not enough, like we're not achieving enough, like no matter where we get, it's just a new bottom. Because we've never been taught how to actually enjoy anything. We've never been taught how to see something as enough and then to just settle in that, to enjoy it, to be in it, to let it be good enough, and to let ourselves do that. Right? That manufactured discontent that says no matter what you do, no matter what you achieve, no matter where you get in life, there's more. You should be doing more. There's better. You should be doing better. That constant tension and that constant stress that we have internalized, that when we feel it, we don't go, that's culture manipulating me. That's what corporations want me to feel, so that I'm constantly in a state of going for more and participating in the exploitation that is required for that, we go, no, I feel that way because I'm failing. We feel that way because I'm not enough. I feel that way because I'm not good enough. Or we're living lives that are good enough on paper, but that aren't genuine to us. So like I said before, when we were talking about how so many people have goals and they don't even know why they have those goals, they just know that it's like, well, because I'm supposed to. I have to. That's what's required. Because they're not realizing that what they're wanting to feel is a sense of fulfillment, a sense of connection, and that they're not going to be alone, and a sense of contributing something. At the end of the day, with the hundreds of clients that I've worked with the thousands of people I've interacted with in the last 20 years of doing this work online, it pretty much all boils down to the same stuff. Everyone's fears, everyone's goals, everyone's desires, everyone's feeling of not being good enough really boils down to, I want to feel like I can express myself. I want to feel like I'm going to be loved. And I want to feel like I'm contributing something back. But we're not taught how to clarify that. And we're not taught how to figure out what that would actually look like for us as an individual. Because we're so distracted by being told, well, just keep leveling up in your career. Just keep buying more stuff. Just keep having more luxury. Just be more on the trend. Go get a better relationship. Go get a better body. Go get a better, right? Inject this into your face and have this outfit and do this luxury thing and achieve this goal and then run a marathon and then run a triathlon, and then that we're not taught how to stop and figure out what it is we actually want to feel and why we think we need these things and what we think having these achievements is going to give us and why we feel empty inside, so that we keep doing all of these things that burn us out and then feel like we're failing, and that's why we feel like shit, and then keep going harder instead of being able to be like, no, it's because the things that culture are teaching me to chase isn't what's going to meet my needs. It doesn't make me feel safe and like I can express myself. They don't make me feel like I'm loved and I'm going to be okay. And they don't make me feel like I'm offering back to the world the thing that I have to offer. We don't feel fulfilled. We don't feel good. We don't feel like we're living lives that are actually satisfying. Because we don't have community connection, and we don't have connection to our real selves. So we're hungry ghosts that are constantly chasing the next thing, believing that the reason we feel unsatisfied is because we're failing, instead of being able to recognize that it's because what culture has told us is a good life isn't. We're not connected to our humanity, and we're not connected to each other. And that is why we feel like shit. Which brings me to the title of this video, which is Community is the Key to Burnout. If you're in the camp of the first camp we talked about, you actually don't have enough and it's not okay, the thing that you were likely missing was community. Right? Like a family that could actually support you. A community of people around you that had your back. Education for how to live an adult life. Actual skills. right? Capitalism taught you you're supposed to just know and be able to do it by yourself. And that's not reality. And then if you're in the camp of, if you really actually take a step back and look at your life and realize that it is enough, you either don't feel like it's enough because culture keeps telling you you're not allowed to feel that way, and the dissatisfaction that you feel is manufactured because you're disconnected from your humanity and you're disconnected from a community around you that would make you feel connected and fulfilled and like you can express yourself, be loved, and offer something back to the community. This disconnection from our humanity is the source of our pain. It's the source of our coping mechanisms. It's the source of why we are struggling in a lot of ways. So again, does this mean, well, that's out of my control, there's nothing I can do about it, so I guess I just fail at life for the rest of my life? No. The power we have is to do this work that we do in this self-love path. It's to get out of shame, blame, and guilt. It's to work our self-love tools so that we can return to our humanity. This is the biggest power move that you have in terms of shifting your life and shifting culture. When you are no longer blaming yourself for what is a cultural problem, when you are no longer feeling shame, blame, and guilt for your response to a world where you are not taught how to be a functional adult, where you are given no skills and no tools for figuring out who you are and how you want to express, and where you are thrust into this hyper-individualistic culture that tells you you're supposed to be able to achieve everything and figure everything out and be in competition with everyone all the time, and that that's just normal. That is not your fault. Learning how to reconnect to your humanity, learning how to reconnect to where did I not get my needs met? Where was I not taught these skills? What do I need to feel supported? So you can start to get out of this self-help loop where you're constantly trying to fix yourself and into, no, okay, just what was it that I didn't get? Where was I not supported? Where was I not helped? So you can stop trying to fix the fruits, right? Your coping mechanisms, the way that you numb, the way that you stimulate yourself, the way that you continue to fail to get your shit together, and you blame yourself and you're trying to change all these external things. We need to peel it back to, okay, what am I actually feeling? Where am I struggling? Where was I not given the tools and the resources and the things that I needed? So you can start to look for the actual solutions. It's not about just trying to force yourself to be different or to fix yourself. It's about having compassion for these places you were let down, so you can start to get those needs met in different ways now that you're an adult. That's where your power is, right? Or it's about realizing that, again, connecting to your humanity and realizing why you think you still need to keep moving forward, why you need the next goal, why you need the next achievement, why you need the next accomplishment. And realizing that it's because of one of these three things. You want to express yourself and you don't feel like you're expressing yourself. You want to feel loved and you don't feel like you're being loved. Or you want to feel like you're giving something back and you just don't feel connected to anything other than yourself. And we want to start to reconnect with our humanity, reconnect to who you are, connect to who you are for the first time for a lot of us, and then move past all the shame, blame, and guilt and all the conditioning and all the things that tell you that who you and what you are is not enough and not okay and not good enough, so you can find a sustainable way of life and feel okay about it, because you're actually meeting your human needs of self-expression, love, and community, and giving something back. Community connection to your humanity, so we can figure out what we actually want and what we actually need and how we can get that, instead of being in this constant state of chasing and trying to be better and trying to do more and trying to achieve, is the solution to burnout. Because what culture tells us is a reasonable life is not. It's either asking us to do way too many things that are not beneficial for us, and it's asking us to do it alone and in a way where we are disconnected from our actual human nature. And so it's painful. Hyper-individualism is killing us. This idea that we should be perfect, all on our own, and that we should never need support, right? And then we can see how this goes into, we have institutions that are supposed to be there for public health and public help, that are either just flailing and don't have the support and don't have the funding and don't have the resources, because our culture doesn't respect these things. There's just this constant narrative of you should be able to do it by yourself, and if you're using any kind of public service, you're failing. Instead of, no, we should all have access to public services, because a culture that functions as a community functions better. Everyone functions better when we work together. The fact that we have these institutions that are flailing because we don't invest in them, or are totally corrupt, or corrupt in a lot of ways, because they're overrun, they're overtaxed, like the actual doctors and nurses and people that we speak to, that we have bad experiences with, generally, it's not even their fault. They're overworked, they're overstressed, they're undertrained, they're underpaid. Because the people that own them care about their shareholders, not the people who are working for them or the people that they're serving. So there's all this corruption in our food and in our drugs and in our public health. So we have no one to lean on. We don't have friends and family to lean on because everyone else is overwhelmed. We don't have public services because they're overwhelmed. And then we have this ultra wealthy class that's just sailing on by and making us all feel like the solution to our problems is to invest more in the things that they're selling, to work harder for the things that they're doing so they can earn more and we can suffer more. Because we're disconnected from ourselves and we're disconnected from each other. So it's a mindset shift that has to happen first. And that's what I'm hoping this video will do. Is I want it to, it's not the solution. This video isn't, here's how we do it. This video is, can we start to see it from a different perspective? That burnout and being overwhelmed in our culture is not you failing to do enough. Can we get out of that so that we can start to see what it actually is? All of these other things that I said. Can we start to take a step back and actually see the bigger picture? Because without that, we're not going to be able to make a change. Okay? So what if it's that? What if you're not failing? What if it's community that's the key? What does that mean for your life? How does that change the way you look at yourself? How does that change the way you start to move through the world? I want this to be a starting point. A change in perspective, a shift in perspective, a shift in perception of why we don't feel good. What if it's not because you're not achieving and doing enough? What if it's this bigger picture? And then from there, can you start to do your inner work from that perspective? How is that going to change the way you start to move through the world? Okay? Okay. So if there's any questions, you can let me know. And if not, I hope this was helpful. I hope that this helps you start to reframe and look at things in a different way. Because we need a big shift. We can't keep being this individualist culture that's killing ourselves and killing each other. It's not working. This isn't sustainable. So let's take a look at what's really going on. Right? Everyone says they want to get out of the matrix. This is what that is. Hyper-individualism is the matrix. Never enough culture is the matrix. Wealth being the one thing we should all be pursuing at all costs is the matrix. It's messed up. Getting out of it is a mindset shift that creates a quality of life shift. Okay? Okay. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Take that in, ponder it, think about it. And I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you when I see you. See you in the mystery school. See you in coaching. Whatever you need, whatever you want. All the free content. I have so much free content on YouTube and on my blog, perceptiontrainers.com, Perception Trainers YouTube. Go watch. Take a deep dive. There's so much to this that you can get for free. Okay? Okay. Have a good night.